want to sustain this kingdom and keep it. There's no way you're going to keep anything when God says it's going away. There's just no way. It's not going to happen. There was no way he was going to hold on to this kingdom. God had already decided this case. All David had to do, as my sister Carrie said, was be trustworthy of him, being trusting of God. Putting your full trust in him and not taking situations into your own hand. As you have declared this day how you have dealt with me, in that you did not kill me when the Lord put me in your hands. It wasn't just happenstance that out of all the caves that David was hiding in. Now, David's a lot better man than me. You know me. I'd have been in the back of that cave, and wouldn't you know it? There's thousands of caves, and Saul comes to this one. You know, and we're all huddled up in the back of that thing.
Some men would look at that as providence.
Yeah.
God provided you.
Yeah. See, and that's what he says. He says, God put us both in that same way, and me with my guard down, and you with your warriors. He knew that was a God thing. And yet you didn't kill me. For if a man finds his enemy, will he let him go away safe? No. So may the Lord reward you with good for what you have done to me this day. I mean, can you imagine Saul's heart when he looked down on the edge of his robe was cut off and David's down there doing this? I mean, he knew without a doubt if you got that close, he could have easily killed you. No doubt about it. And now, behold, I know that you shall surely be king. There's no doubt in Saul's mind that his kingdom is lost. And that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in your hand. And he asked David a favor. Swear to me, therefore, by the Lord, that you will not cut off my offspring after me. That was pretty common, right? When the king died, they killed all of his offspring, so none of them could ever become king. They slaughtered them. Remember, I told you one of the brothers slaughtered 69 of his other brothers, just so he could be king. Tell me you're not going to do that, and that you will not destroy my name out of my father's house. And David swore this to Saul. Then Saul went home, and David and his men went up to the stronghold. So he wants to make sure that his children, that David wouldn't destroy them. And David did not destroy them. As a matter of fact, he preserved one of them that was injured. Yes. But Saul, as we know later, is going to die in battle. Now, there's a lot of things, as Donna points out to you, that when me and her are riding around, I have a lot of questions and answers time sessions. Things I don't understand, I don't comprehend, I can't figure it out. You know, as good as Jonathan was to David, and Jonathan even said, when you come to your kingdom, I'm going to be at your right-hand man. I'm going to be your guy. I'm going to be your right-hand man in the kingdom. But Jonathan's going to die in battle with his father, whom his father didn't trust, right? Because he had sided with David. I don't understand all these things, and I probably never will. I'm pretty sure that when we get to heaven, the Lord's going to open this feeble brain of ours unto all of his wonders, and all of those answers that we needed or that we sought after will come crystal clear. God is omnipotent and omniscient in all of his ways. And there's some things that he chooses not to tell me or you or explain to us. And you know, God doesn't have to explain anything to anybody.
And you have to have everything explained. You're not trusting.
So you got to have that trust. You know, I thought, well, they'll give Jonathan is a good fella. He's on David's side. He'll let him live, but he didn't live. So then we're going to see that after this happens, and I gotta hurry. Samuel the prophet dies. That's in chapter 25, and his death and burials in Ramah. And David took his men down in the desert there, and he went to a man named Nabal. And David and them were kind of watching over the sheep and the flocks and protecting them. And so then they go ask for some repayment from Nabal for their kindness and some supplies. And Nabal rebuffed David's men and said, no, I ain't doing none of this. Well, David got mad when he got word of this after he had been taking care of the man's sheep and went down there and was going to cut his throat. He's going to kill him. But Nabal's wife, Abigail, comes into the scene, and she has a big dialogue with David and convinces him that her husband is a raving maniac. This guy is as nutty as they come, and there ain't really no sense in killing him because he's off his rocker. And so David relents because of her and doesn't kill him. Later, God kills him. God kills him dead as stone. And Abigail becomes David's wife out of that. 1 Samuel 26. Then the Zephites came to Saul of Gibeah, saying, is not David hiding himself in the hill of Hakiah, which is on the east of Jessamon? And Saul arose and went down to the wilderness of Zeph, and 3,000 chosen men of Israel to seek David in the wilderness. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Oh, yeah, you're more righteous than I am, David, and everything. He went home, cooled his jets, got some wine in him, and decided he was going to still try to kill David. And Saul encamped on the hill of Hakilah, which is beside the road of the east of Jeshimon. And David remained in the wilderness. When he saw that Saul came after him into the wilderness, David sent spies and learned that Saul had indeed come. Then David rose and came to the place where Saul had encamped. And David saw the place where Saul lay, with Abner, the son of Ner, the commander of the army of the chosen 3,000. Saul was lying within the encampment, while the army was encamped round about him. So that shows you who Saul's trusting in, doesn't it? Ricky, he's laid out his little pallet, his little tent, whatever, right in the middle, and all of the army, I can just see them, can't you, surrounding him in a circle in multiple layers out. If they're going to get to Saul, they're going to have to come through layers and layers and layers of armed men, with him in the middle. It says he was encamped around him. So he's scared to death. He ain't trusting God for nothing. He's trusting all these warriors, including Abner, the commander of the army. And then David said to Ahimelech, the Hittite, and to Joab's brother Abishai, Joab was a chosen man of David's army, and Abishai, that was his brother, the son of Zeruiah, who will go down with me into the camp to Saul? And Abishai said, I'll go down with you. I mean, it's almost like there's no hesitation here. 3,000 men are down there. And David said, who's going to take me? I'll go. Take me. He was that kind of a warrior. Fearless. And when you read about David's chosen men and his chosen army, those guys were absolutely loyal to David. Absolutely. There was nothing that they wouldn't do for him. Right? In one instance, David said, I'd love to have a drink of water from the pools there inside Jerusalem. And his men went through the aqueduct into the city and got it and brought it back to David. They risked their lives for a cup of water. David was so overwhelmed he couldn't even drink it. He said, I pour this out as an offering to the Lord because of what you've done. Those guys were absolutely sold out to David. And that guy probably knew we're walking straight into our death unless the Lord intervenes, but I'm going with David. You got to admire people like that, don't you? Abishai went to the army by night, and there lay Saul sleeping within the encampment with his spear struck in the ground at his head. And Abner and all the army lay around him. Then Abishai said to David, God has given your enemy into your hand this day. Now let me do it. Let me pin him to the earth with one strike of the spear. I will not strike him twice. I mean, he was sure, I'll pin him to the ground and he'll be dead in a second. There ain't going to be hitting him 2 or 3 times. I mean, Abishai was a fierce warrior. David said to him, do not destroy him. For who can put out his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? David said, as the Lord lives, the Lord will strike him, or his day will come to die, or he will go down in battle and perish. That prophecy came true. The Lord forbid that I should put out my hand against the Lord's anointed, but take now the spear at his head and that jar of water and let's go. Abishai's probably shaking his head. See, God asks people around you to tell you stuff that you absolutely don't understand. See, Abishai is confused. These are warriors. These are men that have been trained to kill men. And the Lord, here again, has put them... Now, what do you think would have happened in that moment? You're standing in the middle of 3,000 men, surrounding in circles. And once you pin him to the ground, then what? Yeah, good luck. But Abishai's thinking, that's what we came down here for. And David said, no, just take your spear and his jug and let's go. Yeah, he did exactly what his commander told him to do, didn't he?
And there they are asleep and they're talking to each other.
Yeah. Well, here's the answer to that. I know where you're going. So David took the spear and the jar from Saul's head, and they went away. No man saw it or knew it, nor did any awake, for they were asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord had fallen on them. Man, they were knocked out like with Benadryl. Okay? The Lord had put this deep sleep on them. They didn't hear the conversation. These guys are tiptoeing over these warriors in the middle of the night. You know, they didn't have a lamp and flashlight so you can see where you're going. It was risky business here.
The Lord,
Yeah.
the Lord had gone
Before them. And he prepared the way for them. Then David went over to the other side and stood away off on the top of a hill with a great space between them. And look what he does. Hey! He calls out to the army of God, Abner! And he calls out Abner. Will you not answer, Abner? And then Abner says, who are you who calls out to the king? And David said, are you not a man? Ugh. Who is like you in all Israel? Why then have you not kept watch over your lord the king? For one of the people came in, one of them, and to destroy the king your lord. That was Abishai. He's talking about. This thing that you have done is not good. As the Lord lives, you deserve to die. Because you have not kept watch over your Lord, the Lord's anointed. God's anointed. That was your main job and you failed. And now see where the king's spear is in the jar of water that was at his head. And Abner goes, it ain't there by the king's head. Now, in most cases, Abner would be killed. He was the commander of the army and utterly failed to protect the king. Saul recognized David's voice and said, is that your voice, my son David? My son. And David said, it is my voice, my Lord, O king. And he said, why does my Lord pursue after his servant? What have I done? What evil is on my hands? Now, therefore, let the Lord the king hear the words of his servant. If it is the Lord that who has stirred you up against me, may he accept an offering. But if it is men, may they be cursed before the Lord. For they have driven me out of this day, that I should have no share in the heritage of the Lord, saying, go and serve other gods. Now, therefore, let my blood fall to the earth away in the presence of the Lord. The King of Israel has come out to seek a single flea, like one who hunts a partridge in the mountains. Then Saul said, I have sinned. Return, my son David, for I will no more do you harm, because my life was precious in your eyes. Behold, I've acted foolishly, and I've made a great mistake. And David answered and said, here's your spear, O king. Let one of the young men come over and get it. And then it says, the Lord rewards every man for his righteousness and his faithfulness. The Lord rewards every man for his righteousness and faithfulness. For the Lord gave you into my hand today, and I would not put out my hand against the Lord's anointed. Behold, your life, as your life was precious to me this day in my sight, so may my life also be precious in the sight of the Lord, and may he deliver me out of all tribulation. Not in the sight of Saul. May my life be precious in the sight of the Lord. He didn't care what Saul thought, but he cared a whole lot about what God thought. Then Saul said to David, blessed be you, my son, David, my blessed son. You will do many things and succeed in them. Oh, yeah. So David went his way and Saul returned to his place. Do you think David trusted Saul after he said that? No. He had already twice before had said, I'm not going to seek after you no more. And then a little time passes and he goes and rounds up an army of 3,000. Let's go hunt that flea down. Right? So as my sister said, we need to wait on God. We need to trust God. And you know, that's the tough part, isn't it? Because so many times trusting God is equivalent to having faith in God. More often than not, we like to think that we're in control of our own lives. And it's difficult for us not to take vengeance or try to get retribution and try to do those things when you have to trust God for the outcome of it. And that's really, as she said, the root of this whole story. David trusts God. Even though he had multiple opportunities to take the situation in his own hands, flip this switch, turn this knob, push that button, he didn't do it. And that's where the real battle comes in, isn't it? Inside us, is when we have the ability to push the button, but trust God and don't do it.
Abigail saved David from taking vengeance on Nabal.
Yes, because he was.
If it wasn't for Abigail,
Yeah,
David would have went in there and cleaned his car.
that's right. So he marries.
Payback.
Payback. Wisdom. He thought, well, she's pretty wise. I need to take her with me.
Curse one.
I hope you guys got something to lesson.